On this episode, we're in my home office and we're going to talk subdivisions. Welcome to episode 11 of Property Investing Plus. My name is Josh Redman. So this week we're going to go a little bit deeper into a value add strategy known as subdivision. Now subdivision is probably one of the most overlooked strategies, particularly value add strategy. So the definition of subdivision would be to take larger lots and break it into smaller lots with the intention of selling them or building on them. So the most common way people use this strategy is they buy an existing property on a large allotment. They renovate the existing house and then divide up the remaining land. One of the most recent examples was on a corner lot. The house was bought, renovated, and then the land was divided into 3 lots. The first lot, of course, being the one with the existing house on it. So the existing house that had just undergone a renovation was sold and covered the original purchase price of the property and also the costs associated with the subdivision. So that meant that after the subdivision and after renovation and the sale of the existing property, the 2 blocks that remained had no debt attached to them at all. They were owned outright. The owner then went on to build 2 townhouses on the remaining lots. He decided to live in one and sold one off for a nice profit. So as you can see, if you find the right opportunity, subdivision can be quite profitable. The owner now lives in a townhouse with little debt attached to it at all. There of course are some things you need to be aware of if you're going to do a subdivision. Things like council requirements, the application or approval procedure with the council, and also the services that are available for the lot being subdivided. Is there gas, electricity, water, sewer, all that kind of stuff available to the lot that's being subdivided? It's also important to be aware of some of the hidden costs that are associated with it. For example, here in Albury, if someone's doing a simple 1 lot to 2 lot subdivision, we probably estimate that your expenses related to that will be somewhere between $20,000 to $30,000. You just need to be aware and to be careful. On a side note, I would always encourage my clients, especially those doing subdivision for the first time, to actually hire a professional to take them through the process. Now the benefit of that is that they hold your hand through the whole process. You can learn as much as possible from this person who is very experienced. Like sure, you might have to pay a little bit of extra money, but what you learn is incredibly valuable. Because the truth is that eventually you're going to be able to do subdivisions on your own. Just make sure that the professional you hire is willing to take you through each step in the process. Some of them just want to do the work, get the work done and be done with it. They're not interested in teaching anyone. So it's very important for you to find a professional who's going to be willing to teach you everything you need to know. And when it comes to subdivision, guess what? You need to do research. The research will mostly revolve around the demand for land and also the services that are available, particularly before you make the purchase. And often this is where a professional helps. So let's say you're in a suburb where the average land size is about 700 metres squared. Do you think that if you subdivided a larger block into blocks of about 300 metres squared, that they would sell fast? Probably not. They may not even sell at all. So you need to be aware of what the demand for land is in the area that you're looking to subdivide. You also need to understand the principle that sometimes less is more. Sometimes people are willing to pay more for larger lots. So you're not necessarily going to make the most money by splitting up the land into the smallest lots possible. So for example, you might get a better price for a 1200 metre squared block than you would for, let's say, 400 metre squared blocks. Especially when you take into consideration the extra expense associated with more subdivision. So it's important to understand the demand for land and obviously to do your research in that area. Services are also incredibly important. So obviously there's costs in servicing lots, but often the amount that costs has to do with the availability of services from surrounding areas. A recent example, a person I know actually bought a larger lot with the intention to subdivide. And what ended up happening is the council came back and said to him that he needs to do a sewer extension. So he needs to service those lots by connecting it to the sewer main. The only problem was, the closest sewer main was 1 kilometre away. He didn't do his research before he purchased the lot. He didn't find out where the services were in association to his block. He actually found himself having to sell off the block for a loss. The sewer main extension was too cost prohibitive. It cost way too much to make the subdivision viable. He really could have found that out earlier on, even before the purchase, by having a simple conversation with his local council. Local councils are usually really helpful and have loads of information, so go and talk to them, especially if you're thinking about doing subdivision. So in summary guys, research plays such an important part. You really need to do it so it doesn't eat into the profit of a job. And it's also important, on your first subdivision, I would strongly encourage you to hire a professional. And look, just write the expense off as what's called school fees, because you're learning how to subdivide land, and that means that you save money on your next subdivision. It also makes sense to sometimes build a house or a townhouse on a subdivided lot. It presents a customer with a finished product, something they can buy and move into right now. It also makes sense if you're intending on holding the lot, because that means you now have something that you can rent out. So subdivision, all in all guys, is a fantastic strategy. You got to keep an eye out for the opportunities that are out there, and also maybe let it influence your next investment property purchase. So that's it for another episode of Property Investing Plus. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, please feel free to share it. Now, question of the day. Do you currently have an investment property that you could subdivide? Put your answer in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video guys. Bye.